I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Kamen Riders. We are here, we're ready to talk about Kamen Rider Geats. I'm your host, my name is Josh, and I'm joined as always by my good friend, Toby. What's up, Toby? Hello. Putting the hell in hello since 2000 and whenever we met.
or since we were born, that number changes.
You don't ask a man his age and a woman her age because we're not going to split that up and be sexist.
Boom.
No, we're old people, I think, as far as this particular scene goes. I think you and I are elder statesmen.
I like the fact that I'm even older than you. So, like, worst case, I can always flex as, like, the eldest statesman. And then you can be, like, the elder.
You're the eldest, I'm the elder, and then everyone else is just eld.
Yeah. Bunch of freaking babies watching this show.
I think there are older people than us watching the show that have been watching for years, but my general feeling is that people are typically younger than us that are watching it, but not like children. just younger than you and I. Let's see, how much older than me are you? Do you have me by a year or two? I forget. I don't remember.
I am almost 40.
Okay. And I don't remember how old I am.
This is just a setup to be like, Toby, you're old as fuck.
Almost 40. Wow. That's like that's old man age.
That's old man age.
I'm Googling how old am I right now.
While you're doing that, I will say, so like there's tons of ways to look at this, but when I hit 40, I could be like past my halfway mark of life already. I could be like not even halfway. It's all a mystery.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. You're totally right. It's totally true. You never know. Like you could be past your halfway. That could have happened like 15
I like
years
trying
ago.
to figure out how to respond to this.
No, I was trying to figure out.
So when is Toby gonna die? How do I broach this nicely? Where I'm not like, oh yeah, you're almost dead, man.
I'm 35 is what I just found out how old I was. So, God, when we first started talking on the internet, you were talking to a baby.
I feel like I used to always point that out to you.
Yeah,
I truly feel like when we all figured out everyone's ages, that we were like, I don't think I called you baby Josh, but we might have.
I think maybe that did happen. Yeah,
maybe little Josh.
Little Josh. Well, as the young person, right, in that crew of people that were podcasting together, like obviously like it came up, I think, that I was younger, but like being the young one, I always felt like I wasn't the young one, right? Like it's always just like, well, we're all doing the same thing. We're all here. We're all recording this podcast together. I'm not young, but yeah, like obviously I was.
Well, so like it's funny you say that because like, so in general, I'm at least remotely holding up visually well in age.
Oh yeah, you look keeping it tight. You're saying keeping it tight,
keeping it tight. So being bald for like 15 plus years, I really don't age in most photos, other than like starting to get splashes of gray in my beard. So
that's true. Yeah.
There's a lot of times where when I'm with people that don't know my age, or like not even like friends that I'm with, just at the bar, at a restaurant, whatever. Like there's times I still get carded for things. And I know it was always a joke when people are like, oh my God, I got carded. I feel so young. But let me tell you, Josh, if I get carded for something, I feel fucking fantastic.
You're just on fire for the rest of the week. Like, yes. I constantly, like I don't do too many things that require being carded, to be completely honest, anymore.
I mean, there's one or two main ones. It's either going out to drink or buying cigarettes.
Yeah, which
is the two
are both things that I don't do. But if I do get carded for something, if I do something that requires like a specific age, I 100% am getting carded for it still. Like, I'm 35, but I still feel like I look like I'm about 17 sometimes.
And it used to be better because like when I was low 30s. If I was with like older 20-year-old dishes or like mid 20 people, they'd always assume I was their age. So that always felt good.
Yeah.
And now, like, that I'm almost 40, like we said, there's times where, like, if I'm with like 30-year-olds, they're like, "Oh, we thought you were our age. That's cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, but calling me 30 doesn't really feel good. Like, it's not as much of a compliment anymore."
Like, ooh, wow, 30. Yeah, it's not as much of like a win, really, at that point. I think, I mean, maybe it's the state of the world, or just like the internet is helping, whatever. I feel like people tend to stay younger longer. Like, I feel like when our parents' generation, like my dad would have like given up the like fun silly stuff that he did when he was a kid, and like become a boring person who doesn't do anything interesting. And I feel like that's not really the case anymore with most people. Like, people tend to like maintain their hobbies as they get older, and you know like in this case, continue to watch the shows they did when they were children.
Because somehow those shows are still on.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe that is the nostalgia business, I guess, is what's keeping that going in some cases. But um I'm currently spinning it as a positive right now. Oh, but speaking of young people, Toby, who watch these shows in addition to us, I'm assuming that our friend Shade is younger than us, but I might be wrong. We got
Even if he's not, no one at this point is allowed to claim the elder statesman of the Kamen Riders title from me, unless you're coming
no,
in at like 50 plus years old. Only at that
yeah.
point will I bequeath the crown.
I want
And
to hear. I want to hear about like tape trading that you did, like. Like I traded VHS tapes that had Kamen Rider episodes on it. Back then, we just called it Masked Rider. We didn't know any better.
yeah, called it Green Bughead Bike Man.
That's the thing about So tape trading, of course, is like a big thing in wrestling. If you're not aware, and when I say you, I mean the audience. I know that you're aware, Toby.
Thank you.
The wrestling constantly feels like it's full of like old timers because of that, because you always hear people talking about like trading tapes and stuff, which was definitely like way before I was into wrestling. We were not trading tapes, we were like downloading mp4s off of like extreme wrestling torrents or whatever. But
You're stealing shit.
yeah, but the idea of like trading a physical VHS tape to get your entertainment that you're interested in is always feels like this weird romantic concept. But anywho, last week we mentioned that Shade had sent us an email, and we'd skipped over it, pushed it to this week for time considerations. So let's read Shade's email now. What do you say?
Do it up.
All right. Shade writes in and says, "I heard you guys talking about suit actors because we were you were thinking that a suit actor had changed because someone was looking way more swole than they were before."
Kayla in the one outfit looked way more jacked than he did in the earlier episodes.
Right.
I believe was my specific call out.
Yeah, it was. So Shade says that he wanted to bring up Tycoon's suit actor. He's known for his stage name Eitoku. Eitoku. And he has played many secondary and non-main Kamen Rider characters. For Josh, who watched Decade and Zio, he was Kamen Rider D-End and Waz. There's an ongoing joke in both the production team and the fans that he never gets to play the main rider. So that's a little sad. He's been around for so long, played these like pretty big characters, but he never gets to be the Cinderella, never gets to be the star. Kamen Rider Waz is a great character. Waz in general is a great character. So in that show, he's this character who like kind of like tells the future, sort of, and he carries around a giant book where like the history is written.
Like, as he goes, like he like fights somebody that says like, "And on this day was punched out monster number 7."
Yep,
Or
that's
like,
pretty much exactly how it works.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit,
like
okay.
it's kind of written as it goes, and he is like super over the top. Like he'll show up and he'll declare things with his arms out in the book. It's great. And then when he finally becomes a Kamen Rider, yeah, he's just like weird, like technical. I think he's got like a tablet at that point instead of a book, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he's great. Shade goes on and says Geats' opening Trust Last, which is the song in the opening bit, is a collaboration between Kodakumi and Shonen no Kaze. Shonen no Kaze previously made Kamen Rider Games' theme song, which is called Just Live More.
Did
Which
you
is
ever look at the pictures or the video of the two people that sing Geats' theme song?
You mean like in the opening itself of the episodes?
No, like the real life humans that are performing the song.
Oh, I have
you
not.
have you ever seen what they look like?
No. Should I Google this right now and
You
find
should
out?
while we talk about it.
Okay.
So while you look it up, this is all I want you to think about. Whichever person is the guy that raps or whatever part you want to call it, the best picture I've ever seen of him, because this came up in a different conversation with somebody, he looks like what someone who didn't know what a gangster looked like and how they would dress if you were like, yeah, a thug dresses like this.
Just like describing it to someone without actually any context of
It had
how
like, yeah, like in the at least the picture I saw, he had like, I think I'm sure they're famous, but he looks like he has like a Fred Durst bucket hat on, and then like a baggy full camo outfit, and
oh,
it's
this
like
is
neon orange and red, I believe was the one I was looking at.
so the I'm seeing some pretty great pictures here. So the Kodakumi half of that duo is a female singer, like a singular person, who's known for her urban and R&B songs. So like kind of what you would expect, I guess. She looks like a pop star. She seems like a very cute young woman dressed like you would expect a pop star to dress, right?
Very
The other,
idly.
yeah, kind of like Idol, yeah, a little bit, but like a little bit older, I guess, than like your typical idols. She's dressed like Christina Aguilera here in one picture. I don't know, like seems like you would expect. Like there are no surprises basically. The other half, the Shonen no Kaze, who I wasn't sure if it was a person or not. Apparently, it's a group. So the person who's rapping is part of a group. The group is called Shonen no Kaze. Wikipedia describes them as a Japanese 4-member reggae band, which is not the words I was expecting to be presented to me. And yeah, you're totally right. Like they are attempting to look like the thuggest of thugs.
Okay, so I've just found the picture that I was talking about. So he has a random colored bandana on. He has a white mesh tank top on, and then like baggy suede looking blue pants on.
Yeah, he
and it really
literally
looks
has
like
blue
if you
suede
said
pants.
like if you're like dressing up as like a gangster or a thug and don't know what it's actually supposed to look like, and someone gave you a vague description, that's what I feel. At least I guess one of the singer guys, whatever, looks like. And he could be a lovely human being. He just looks very thuggish in nature.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, I mean, like it essentially is cosplay. I mean, and I'm not saying that like rappers in America are not doing anything different than cosplay either, because you know they're professional musicians and not actual gangsters. But like when you add in the language barrier and the across the world barrier as well, like you're essentially dressing like you see like movies and musicians and stuff dress like. So you're doing your best imitation of it. Yeah, I don't know that anyone dresses like this like normally in Japan, but I love it. I love their whole vibe.
I also just found out that group Shonen no Kaze,
Shonen no Kaze, yeah.
they have 2 or 3 Yakuza game theme songs.
Oh, okay. So
under their belt.
They're big into the themes for media. It sounds like.
Yeah. All my worlds are coming together.
Worlds colliding.
I feel like I should have known this ahead of time.
I watched a video. Oh shoot, I'm not gonna be able to remember his name. Let me see if I can Google quickly. So, Hyde, that's his name, Hyde. So there is a Japanese rock star, like one of the biggest ones in Japan. His name is Hyde. He used to be in a band called Lark NCL. Maybe I don't know if I'm saying that even remotely correctly, but now he's like a solo act. And I watched like a little documentary about him a while back, and he dresses kind of similarly in concept to this guy we're talking about now, where it's like it's just very like over the top, kind of looks like a vampire sort of.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
it is this like perfect ridiculous character that could only play in Japan, really. But yeah, in a similar fashion, he's like 50 and he looks like he's about 12.
Perfect. That's my
And
kind of person.
it seems like the Shonen no Kaze group has been going on forever as well. So I'm assuming the same is true about them.
But anyway, so Shade was telling us.
Yeah.
I'm taking you way into the weeds. I'm gonna get you back out of here.
Thank you for guiding me back out. I was completely lost. I thought we were just now reviewing Japanese music at this point. So Shade says kudos for Toei for getting popular artists to make their theme songs, because I guess Koda Kumi was the top selling artist of 2006 and 2007 in Japan. So yeah, like, it's not just nobodies that are doing these Kamen Rider theme songs, which is pretty cool. It is Toby akin, if you will, to Fall Out Boy doing the theme song to that Spider-Man cartoon.
Oh,
are you aware of that? Do you know that that's a thing?
I felt like I did. I feel like there's a couple like I know Bowling for Soup did Jimmy Neutrons, and that was a big one.
Oh yeah. So there's
a weird overlap of that recently, or
there's this new
general.
This new Spider-Man cartoon is like Spidey and his amazing friends. So it is young Spider-Man. It is young Gwen Stacy or Ghost Spider, and it is young Miles Morales, who would also be named Spider-Man. So in the show, they just call him Spin for no reason. But yeah, Fall Out Boy does the theme to that, which always throws me whenever my daughter's watching that show. I'm just like, oh, right, that it sounds like Fall Out Boy, because it literally is just Fall Out Boy. Okay. She also links us to a fan-made English version of Trust Last, a cover, which actually is very good. So if I remember, I will link that in the comments in the description of the video and of the podcast. And then Shade goes on to tell us, you were talking, Toby, about watching Alice in Borderlands, and Shade says that are actually a lot of toku actors in that show. They all appear for like 1 to 3 episodes, but just a few of them. I will list out a couple. Rihito Itagaki was Timejacker. It was one of the Timejackers in Zio. Minahiro Kinomoto was a Kamen Rider in Kamen Rider Double. Hiyato Isomura was a Kamen Rider in Kamen Rider Ghost, and Jun Hashimoto was in Kamen Rider Revice. So a lot of like Kamen Riders and stuff bouncing around Alice in Borderlands, which I was not aware of.
Interesting. The Kamen Riders get everywhere, apparently.
Apparently.
This whole acting culture they have is eternal.
And then Shade linked us to an interview, translated interview with the cast and writer of Kamen Rider Geats. And we won't go through all of it, but there was some interesting points in it that I will bring up again if the link will reopen for me. There we go. So they were talking to kind of the main crew. So like Buffa and Neon and Ace, Kawa and Sumi. And they were talking about like what got them into like Kamen Rider and stuff like that. So speaking of being old people like you and I are, apparently Ace was born in 2002. So he was 5 years old and watched Kamen Rider Den-O in 2007. But just like the concept that he was born in 2002 was like kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, that seems too new.
he talks about like they talk about friends and family supporting them, and he specifically says like, oh yeah, I'm happy that my friends who are college students are watching the show in real time. Like, oh god.
Yeah, I'm outranking all these motherfuckers.
I specifically liked Buffa's response to a couple things too. He talks about like at first like my character was cool and reserved. I was playing like a rival to Geats, but then I came to realize that I was actually a passionate man. But the overall takeaway I think that I found most interesting about this interview was that it seems like the actors didn't really know anything about their characters sort of ahead of what they were currently filming, which I found really interesting. Like when he was portraying Kamen Rider Geats and portraying Ace in the early episodes. He talks about like, oh, I didn't really know what his motivation was for joining the Desire Grand Prix. Then I found out that he was looking for his mother, and like Neon, kind of the same way. It was like, yeah, I'm like happy go lucky, everything's great. And then I found out that like, oh, I've got family trouble, and like I'm finding out my actual motivations and what I'm actually in the game for. It's like that seems so wild to like figure out how to portray a character without like knowing any details about them. Just literally,
like,
yeah.
A while ago, I was talking about this stuff with other people too, and it's like when the season is 40 episodes, like it seems like if you go through like the writer credits of the show, like it's just whoever the main writer is, the showrunner, writer, whatever how the hell that works. Like there's only one name on all the credits for writing.
Yeah.
So obviously they're not probably filming 40 episodes worth in a row, nor do I think they had like the entire overarching story all right away.
Right.
But it's one of those things where like it seems like they probably filmed like chunks of 5 at a time and just kind of adapt the characters in the show as people react to things or like spin up or spin down certain moments. So it actually makes sense that they like admit it. Like it's like, yeah, we're actively telling you like we didn't know who we were playing and how this was playing out 10 episodes in. The first 5 I seemed like this, and now they're like, oh, by the way, like you hate Geats, but you kind of respect him too, so try to like switch a little bit. And
right. It's just fascinating, yeah, because like it's shot very soap opera like. It almost seems like where like, yeah, like we have a million episodes and like there's a new one every day in the case of a soap opera. But yeah, they're probably only like writing like a week in advance or shooting a week in advance or whatever. Like it's very tight in terms of like turnaround time is what it seems. So yeah, like it's interesting that a show that's currently in motion can like actively still be changing.
yeah, like it's just constantly still going.
Yeah, and like they like you said, they could like respond to things that people don't like potentially, or like course correct as the show goes on. That's pretty wild. And it feels like they've done that too. Like you were talking about like groups of 5. Like, we made a lot of fun of some like really bad CG for a little bit there, and then like, hey, suddenly it got better. Like clearly they had focused on CG after it had gone really bad for a little bit. So I don't know. Yeah, it seems like that they are like taking some of those like, or at least re-examining their own work if it's not like feedback from the outside.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So Shade, thanks for sending that stuff in. Always very interesting. And yeah, that's gonna I think wrap up our email section of the podcast. Brr, brr, brr. We need like a theme song to go in and out. If you want to send us an email, you can do so. We'd love to hear from you. Cast@KamenRiderSucks.com is where you send those email missives. Toby, do you think it's time that we talk about Kamen Rider Geats?
Let's do it, because as always, we've hit our what I call our buffer of Toby and Josh time.
We've hit that sweet spot where we've talked about the existential crisis of aging for a little while. We read some emails, and now we've settled in. All the people who didn't want it are gone. Now we can get into the show with our real fans. All right. So Kamen Rider Geats episode 18 is what we are discussing today. Give the people, Toby, a little recap. What's been going on in the world of Kamen Rider up to this point?
So coming into today's episode, we've realized that the DGP, the whole concept itself, is the world's greatest reality TV show. We're starting to learn through sponsors that watch the show and back people. This game, or this Grand Prix this time, is instead of there's an actual winner, there are 2 things that were switched up. Number 1 is the winner is based off of fan voting and not so much like being the best cool guy you can be, like Ace usually is. And the other one is there is a special mole character where if the mole makes it until the end of the DGP, they get to win no matter what happens.
Right. If they're
called the Distractor or Destructor or something like that.
The Disaster. It's like disaster, but spelled weird.
That's what it was. Thank you.
I would also like a little bit of credit, Toby, when you said winner. I didn't interrupt you to then say chicken dinner, and I just want credit for that.
Duly noted. I'll put it in my book.
So yeah, the game really has been turned on its head, we'll say. And I think one of the big changes now that we're seeing is, as far as recaps and stuff goes, we're getting talking head interviews like you would see in a regular reality TV show.
Yeah, like the opening of this one being an actual, just like they're usually called like confessionals or like those
Yep.
kind of things.
Yeah.
Like the actual opening this time is just a confessional from Ace sitting in an all black room on a chair all by himself with like little splash screens of like, this is the question that the producer's asking you right now. What is your answer? And like it's like the perfect twist, legitimate way to like start the episodes now.
It's genius because like plays perfectly into their needing a recap thing, and it plays perfectly into this is a reality show now. Like completely changes the tone of like what Kamen Rider's been doing. And because of that, it feels so weird.
It
Like
definitely does now.
like Geet's sitting there like a smug little jerk like he is, and like playing to the camera and winking at the camera about like who's gonna be the disaster. Like, oh my god, so weird. But yeah, the talking heads are crazy, and I'm not used to them yet after this episode. But we definitely are going to be seeing a lot of them, is what it seems like. Our show opens. The first scene that we get to is Kawa has made breakfast for the Kamen Rider crew. And of course, because he made breakfast, everyone instantly suspects him of being the mole. they think that he put laxatives in their food, that he's trying to poison them in some way, and he's just trying to throw them off. Everyone basically is like, I don't know about this, including Ace. Even Ace is just like, this was something that the mole would do.
I'm impressed because I think because obviously since it's a popularity contest, he should have put laxatives in the food to try to get like the slacker vote up, where people like, oh, that rascal. I feel like you get a little more fan participation votes that way. Or
Okay, yeah.
or if they were smarter, like everyone sans Kawa, like when you put the food down, they should do like the classic like, did you poison me maneuver of like switching the plates around, because he's not going to eat the poison food. So then you want to switch your plate with his, but you have to think if he's being crafty and that he saw that coming, so he poisoned their food. So when they switch them, they're actually getting rid of the poison, moving things around, and
this is 4D chess.
yeah,
you could just make him take a bite of all their food. Be like, if you're gonna serve it to me, you have to also take a bite.
Yeah.
But then what if he took the antidote?
Do you know what an assassin's teapot is?
Yes, where it has different chambers depending on, is it how you hold it while you're pouring? Is that what it is? It's
an assassin's teapot, if you don't know, is a normal teapot, but it has two different chambers, and like there's a little like I call it a valve, but it's just like an air hole on the side, where if you put your finger over the air valve, it pours out of one chamber through science and magic and God knows what else. Or if you take your finger off, it pours out of the second valve or the second chamber. So basically, it's the way that people used to, I guess, assassinate each other. Where they'd give each other poison tea. You just have to remember to cover the hole at the right time to not poison yourself.
I love that like the need to poison someone who you were like having tea with was so prevalent that an entire invention was created just for it. Like, what a world.
It sounds awesome.
If someone invites you over for tea, you better be looking the fuck out. Like, don't accept. They're probably gonna kill you. And also like that invention definitely has a ceiling too. Like not enough people, not too many people can know about it, because otherwise you'd be checking for holes, right? You'd be like, that's one of them murder teapots. I get it.
I'll pour my own tea, thank you.
Nowadays we just use guns. That's what we do to assassinate each other now. Much simpler. Toby the Game Master shows up next while they're debating whether they should eat this breakfast or not. And he tells them in his typical over-the-top fashion that their spider phones have been updated with the ability to vote for who is the disaster. They can change their vote at any time, and at the end of a game, if there's a unanimous vote, that person will be booted out. Doesn't matter if they were the spy or not. If the vote was unanimous, that person is gone. Keiwa is real upset about this. He says, like, why are you turning us against each other? And the Game Master says, well, that's just the kind of reality show that we are. Which, yeah, he's really turning that up to 11. And we also find out if they don't vote by the end of the game, they get kicked out. So you can't abstain, which is definitely what Keiwa would have done if that hadn't become a rule.
It's definitely like the perfect like anti KWA rule.
Yeah,
Like we're playing dickhead DGP now, and you're gonna be either gonna be a participant or we're throwing your ass out.
Yeah, you're not gonna be above this. You're not better than this. We're gonna drag you down in the mud with us. It would have been a real power play just to pull your phone out and vote, like in front of everyone, like hold it out so they can see who you're clicking on.
I'm
Just
voting for you.
Yeah. So yeah, we have that sort of looming over our heads now. And then, Toby, we get a brief shot of one of those supporter like couches, like little rooms that are kind of in the weird negative space. And there's a statue of a frog watching the show.
So it's funny you say that because so they address it more down the road here.
Yeah.
But it just sounded like when they first did the shot, it just seemed like someone had like a helmet or something on, because it didn't seem to me like I could tell fast enough from the first one what it actually was. So later down the episode, when I figured out that was actually just like a literal statue that talks,
Yeah.
my mind was blown. I was like, oh, it's like, okay, it's a living frog. And I'm like, wait, no, it's a frog statue that literally does nothing and can be knocked over and picked back up. And he, like, the frog addresses it like, don't touch me, put me back, all this other stuff. And I was also thinking about that too. And like with the way that we've said like some days like the CG looks good, some days the CG looks bad. I think that was the smartest way to not have to worry about animating a frog in a way that looks what we call natural or real.
What a way to freaking deal with that. Yeah. it's just a garden gnome. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I love that character so far in what little we've seen of him. But yeah, when I first saw that, because that the scene where they first introduce him is really fast, and yeah, you hear a voice and you briefly see the frog, but you're not 100% sure that the voice is coming from the frog. Like maybe it's just the camera's pointed at the frog while someone else is in the room talking or something. But I definitely had to rewind it to watch it again to be like, wait, did I just see like a frog statue? Like, because
is this really what's going on right now?
Yeah, because I'm like taking notes as I'm watching, and like it's like, wait, hold up. And yes, that confirmed later on that is just a frog statue that is apparently living and breathing and
or whatever frog. I guess whatever frog statues do.
That's true. I don't want to deign to know about their life. We get a shot back at the greenhouse again with our Giamato caretaker, if you will. Our firefighter, Kamen Rider Giamato human person. He decides he needs new clothes, so he transforms into some gardening gear for no reason, really. And the gardener tells Buffa that they're going to play a sport that risks your life because they have a ball in their hand.
It's the most extreme sport.
Yeah,
I believe
it is.
Was
It's very extreme. And we're launching into this game here now because Keiwa is volunteering at a children's canteen, which is it's like a soup kitchen or something. It seems like maybe like free meals for children. I wasn't super sure about the nature of the business necessarily, but there's a bunch of children. They're eating, and Keiwa's showing up to assist and to volunteer. It was a very wholesome scene because all the kids run up and like, Keiwa, we love you.
It was very wholesome, and I feel like that is the perfect embodiment of Keiwa. Like he's just like the happy kid. Like it just seems perfect that like all the other little kids would love him. Because again, to go back to our age conversation in the beginning, like it's the same way I would act. I'd be like, yeah, kids, let's go play games, or let's go do this, or let's whatever guys you want to play, I'll do too. Like it's just one of those weird things where like I can respect it. adds a little more like he is like the ultimate like pure child in all this.
Yeah, like, and he's the idealist, right? Like, yeah, he has the childlike, not wonder, but like the childlike idealism that the world can be saved and that we can have world peace, and yeah, it's very fitting. Um, he has like an interaction with like the woman who works there, and she's like, "You look so thin," or whatever. He's like, "Yeah, but I eat a lot."
Don't
Which
worry, I'm doing fine.
I thought was very cute. Just as he shows up, though, to help at the canteen, outside he hears a big explosion. He runs outside, and it's Giamato. They've showed up. KY transforms, and the kids are like hype about it.
He does it right in front of them, and they're like, "Oh my god, Kwa is a superhero!" And I was like, "This is perfect. Like, this is the exact reaction that a kid would have. Like, oh man, her little buddy's actually cool. Like, he's a big robot-looking guy."
I love to like they typically try to hide that they're Kamen Riders so often, and they'll like run around a corner before they transform. But no, he just transforms fully in view of an entire school of children. Perfect. We realize, however, that the kids are trapped basically. So the canteen where the kids were is inside of one of the kind of Giamato areas, the like Jama area, and they can't get on the outside, which is kind of where their parents are. So they're trapped inside with Kwa and with the Giamato.
And it's just like how Kwa's parents died.
Yep, exactly.
That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, oh no, it's gonna happen again.
which is why I think it like especially affected him. And as we'll see, like this really matters to him, of course, protecting these kids. And yeah, I'm sure it's because it is definitely a callback to his parents dying. As soon as we realize that we're all trapped and the Giamato are here, we realize the nature of the game. So the Giamato has a ball. He kind of winds up. He launches it up into the air into these rings that essentially are a hoop, and he scores 5 points. A big scoreboard shows up floating in the air, and the Giamato team has 5 points.
And it's called I guess it's GMR ball.
Yeah,
but I think it's actually the greatest game idea of all the games they've played so far. Like other than maybe like Resident Evil Mansion game, like this is definitely like top 2 right now. Then
I was conflicted. I was really conflicted. So it's an interesting game, like a very very game, but it is the most like hammers home that they aren't really saving the world anymore. They're being like manipulated in a reality TV show. Like,
what? Didn't even really think about that, but that's a good call.
Like, and there are still stakes because like Sumi tells them that like, yeah, if you lose this game, so it's the Kamen Riders versus the Giamato in basketball, and if the Riders lose the game, the entire like GMR area gets wiped out. So like everyone in it dies. So the stakes are very high, but it's just pure manufactured stakes. It's like you would think that we could like prevent this from happening, but we're letting it happen because it's the TV show. So I'm still not used to that as the dynamic, I guess, of the show. But like from a pure game perspective, yeah, it definitely is like very, very fun, very interesting. I loved some of the like teamwork aspects that this led to us having, and watching the Giamato like pick up a ball and just like drain threes never got old the whole time.
Like all of the, I'll call them fight sequences, because I guess that's kind of what they still were.
Sure, yeah.
But they're just like aggressive basketball fight sequences. And at least in the first half, like when they first like showed like this is what the game is, there was a bunch of shots where they used the ball as the camera. Or like the ball or the camera followed the ball, or like there was half where like the camera was inside the ball. And it was just like the craziest, best way to do cool visual effects with the fights and the scenes, rather than just doing like all the drone shots. It was just like super interactive or immersive, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah. I think that they found some really, really interesting ways to shoot what could have been very boring action, where like you're not really fighting. You're mostly just trying to throw a basketball or throw a ball. So yeah, that stuff was really dynamic and really cool. I wrote down my note that I wrote down about once the game got started. I wrote down Space Jam ensues. Because that is really what it feels like in some cases. I'm just like the crazy over the top flying across the city with the ball in my hand, and like I'm passing like over the course of like 3 city blocks to go to the next Kamen Rider. It's just nonsense, just wonderful, beautiful nonsense. They obviously find out early on that like the distance from the goal is how many points you get, because Lopo scores but only gets 3 points when the original Giamato got a 5-point goal. So they realize that there's a little bit more skill there involved. And yeah, a good chunk of this episode is just playing basketball.
Yeah, effectively,
However,
yes.
it's kind of what a lot of it boils down to. But there's one important thing that happens kind of throughout the basketball playing. So Keiwa, of course, in the original Giamato that he encountered, one of them basically says like, I'm a firefighter, which is, I guess, why I like saving people. It's the same thing that the firefighter commentator said in the very beginning when Keiwa first met him. So Keiwa realizes that, oh, crap, like, I'm right. This Giamato is that guy, is the commentator guy.
He was the polar bear.
Yep, the polar bear.
For a reference point, because they kind of hammer it home later.
Yep.
Like, oh, it's polar bear, blah, blah, blah.
So Keiwa, like, of course, realizes that maybe it's a person that he can save or like that could be saved. He hesitates. He doesn't fight the Giamato. He kind of stands there wondering what to do, wondering how to kind of take this information in. And in turn, he looks an awful lot like a spy as he just sort of stands there and lets the Giamato score.
And for a large chunk of this episode, he definitely he just keeps fucking himself over and over. Like, he is the only one with any hesitation almost the whole time.
Yep.
So even when they blamed him before the game started, he pulls up here, so they blame him more. And then like anything he does, pretty much the rest of the entire episode, just makes it look worse and worse for him. Like, he's not helping himself or doing himself any favors whatsoever.
No, none at all. We get another talking head with Sae, and she says like, oh, there's one writer who's acting strange. I've been keeping an eye on him. So like right off the bat, like, she's like, yeah, Keiwa seems a little fishy here. I don't know what's going on. Before the second half begins, so after the first half ends, that creepy audience guy who was talking to Geats in the last episode, Gene, is just there.
Blue hair, streaky man.
Yeah, he's just there in the like GMR area, and he's talking up Geats again, and basically is like, oh, like, I looked you up, and like, why does your profile say your mom is this person when I thought your mom was the person who used to be a navigator for the Desire Grand Prix? And Geats is like, you know a lot about me. You've done your research, I guess. And is clearly like taken aback.
Well, it seems kind of bullshitty too, that like, if they're the ones that send down the fancy chests to them, that seems, I'll say, fair to me as a viewer or as a sponsor, whatever you want to call it. Them being able to actively like go down and interact with them and taunt them or motivate them or whatever option they're taking seems ridiculous that like that's allowed.
Yeah, it's so wild. And Geats, of course, like also says the same thing. He's like, why are you in the Giamato area? And the guy's like, what does he say? He's like, oh, just traveling whatever, like dimension hopper or something is essentially what he calls himself.
Right, yep.
Geats says, well, I know you're abnormal. And Gene says, you are too. So they have a weird, strange alliance. Geats walks off, and Gene says, Ace, you're making it harder and harder to take my eyes off you.
And it's also crazy too, because like when he's taunting him about the dimension hopper thing, Geats does the Geats smirk, which usually means like, I've planned for this like 5 weeks before this happened.
Yeah.
So it seems like Geats is acknowledging he's a dimension hopper. Or I feel like there's like, that's going to be a tie to something else down the road.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like, he was happy that he got him to admit that because he'd been suspecting it for a while or something like that. Yeah. It would definitely, he was pleased to hear that knowledge. When we talked about him being like swim fan, like obsessed viewer of the Desire Grand Prix, I'm getting that vibe even more and more. Like he's gonna be like wearing Ace's skin as a suit at some point. Just it's very, very creepy. Gene is very creepy. we head back to the lounge after this, and Sae and Neon are they're kind of bonding. They're doing some training together.
They become besties.
They do become besties. They're a couple scenes together where they are becoming besties is actually kind of cute because you get to see like Neon like try to become friends. Like she like is like pretending like being a cute cat like to become friends or something, and like you can see she breaks down the layers of Sae's like tough exterior, which I thought was kind of adorable.
Well, that was sweet, and like Sai says, "I see you like a younger sister," and it's weird because I'd never assumed any of these people's ages were like that far apart. Like in this group,
Yeah.
like obviously, like the old man's the old man, shit like that. But I would have never put them that far apart, where it would have been like the older sister, younger sister thing. But I guess it doesn't have to be like that big of a gap for that to be the vibe.
Yeah, and when you're as old as we are, it's hard to tell young people's ages apart. everyone just seems like they're 14.
Exactly. But like, yeah, but
Um,
like you said too, like one of the best goofy lines in that is Sai says to Neon, "Cats do love to be spoiled," and Neon like winks, smiles, and goes like, "Rawr."
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, she like, like, oh man, this whole Neon shtick really works on me. And I don't know what that says about me. At the same time that the two of them are, training and bonding together, Daiichi, so our Spadge Narrow, or Nadge Sparrow, rather, to flip those letters
Spadge
around.
Narrow.
He of course had been eyeing Keiwa during the first half of the game. He shows up to the lounge and he asks Keiwa, "Hey, did something happen in the game? Because I'm happy to listen. Like if something weird happened." So Keiwa, of course, like spills his guts and tells him like, "Oh my god, yeah, like I saw this dude. He used to be a Kamen Rider and now he's a Yamato," and like kind of spills his guts about everything that's been going on. And Daiichi like really is playing along with it. It's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, like that must be they must have become the Yamato, like use the dead bodies." I always thought it was strange that writers who were eliminated went back to their normal lives, the ones who were killed by the Yamato don't, and like he really is like going along with things that Keiwa is saying.
And in general, of all the people in that 5 to trust or not trust, I don't know why Keiwa would choose him as like the one to be like, "Yeah, I can trust you the most," considering he has like, I mean, we'll call it friendships with Neon and Ace. Like this was like the wrong person to back.
Yeah,
And
I don't know if it was. I don't think it was strategic at all. I think it was just like he was really freaked out, and I think Daiichi was just like the first person who showed up and like remotely asked about it.
I mean, that could be true. And I noticed in this episode, after our anime Bleach, whatever guy we compare Sparrow to all the time,
Yeah.
as I was watching the episode, he actually manages to do a really good job where he turns his head in most of the shots. We get the reflection of the room in his glasses to like white him out. So I was like super impressed. Like they actually managed to do like the weird
Yeah, he tries
glasses reflection thing.
he tries hard at that. Yeah. But yeah, that really hammers home the point that like that's exactly what they're going for with him, with the like the glasses reflection and pushing his glasses up. But yeah, I think it is like you were saying. I think it's weird that Keiwa didn't run to Ace and didn't run to Neon. But like, if you think about these last couple episodes, like Ace and Neon haven't been like super close to him, really, because like Neon like forgot he existed in the opening of this new game because she's like one,
there's
2, 3, 4.
Who's 5?
Yeah, and then Ace, kind of this whole like episode since basically the disaster stuff coming out, Ace has been clearly keeping Keiwa at arm's length. Like he keeps bringing up like, well, that is a thing that the disaster would say. I don't know.
I do know you, but this is a special rule.
Yeah. So maybe Keiwa was feeling a little disillusioned by his friends and was like, I don't know, this Daiichi guy seems interested. Maybe I'll confide in him. But of course that spoiler alert doesn't work too well for him. We'll get to that in a little bit here. But in the meantime, we head back to the greenhouse, and Buff, of course, is milling about in the greenhouse, and he finds his broken, cracked ID core. So he sees it, and he has a driver, and he's like, "Well, screw this! I'm gonna henshin." he attempts to, but it hurts him. Like it seems like he's gonna kind of keel over at some point, and he essentially has to like punch his driver as if he's giving it like
CPR
CPR or something. Yeah, which is crazy. While he's attempting to kind of hench and get away, there's like a Giamato that sees him and starts attacking him. So finally, he transforms. He kind of like gets control of his transformation a little bit, and he like breaks the Giamato's arm, and then like beats him to death.
Well, and like this whole part of Buffa's crazy new life here, it's actually like it was all like super interesting. Where like he's fighting through not being able to be a driver or a rider, and like he's basically like getting his ass kicked by himself plus the Giamoto. And I was trying to figure out for a while, like it didn't click until later. I was like, well, why would they fight him if he's in the greenhouse garden area and like doing the rider stuff? But I guess it's because like he's not one of them. Like he still stinks like being half alive, whatever the hell his thing is.
He's still alive. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that they just mindlessly attack riders, and he's becoming a rider, right? He's trying to transform. So I was like, well, I better beat this dude up.
But it all made sense once I thought about it. But at first I was
Yeah.
kind of confused. I was like, this doesn't really make sense, but it kind of makes sense. And then when it clicked, I was like, okay, we're good.
It's interesting too, like, it's perfect to Buffa's character. Like he's so bullheaded that he refuses to die. That checks out. And then so bullheaded that he refuses to not henshin. Like even though his ID core is busted, it should be impossible. He like fights through it, gives a CPR. Like he's a man like against all odds. He's going to be a Kamen Rider, and he's going to get this power. After he beats this Giamato to death, essentially, more Giamato shows up, and in order to like fight them, like he realizes that he doesn't have the power to like beat more than one Giamato at a time, and in kind of desperation, he grabs the Giamato's vine buckle, the thing that they've been using that like spits vines everywhere when they're fighting the Kamen Riders. He grabs it. There's like a violent scream as he sticks it onto his buckle. And basically, he just like explodes the other Giamato. They get all like vined up like crazy. Vines shoot out everywhere, and like Buffa looks real messed up. So,
And even with that, like when he puts the Gimato driver buckle thing on, like his helmet eyes get crazy, like trippy acid vibe of like something not good is happening to this dude right now.
yeah, they
Which I thought was
get filled up with vines or whatever.
Yeah.
But it really felt like the like point of like no return for Buffa. Like at that point, like we definitely he doesn't go full evil at that point, but it felt like he was. Like it was like, oh, okay, he's messed up here.
Now's his time to just going bad for him.
Yeah, like I thought after this scene, I thought I was like, oh, this episode probably ends with him showing up to fight the Riders, right? Like now he's gone full evil. But no, he kind of escapes the greenhouse a little bit. He realizes that there's an entire like destroyed city, like an entire like ruins of a city surrounding this greenhouse. Like it's all grown over, like something had happened years ago, and the greenhouse is really the only building that's left.
Yeah, that part was wild. We're like, because for most of the shots, it always seemed like the greenhouse was just like the greenhouse, and that was the whole vibe of that place.
Yeah.
But Buffa's fight happens more of an outside trees forest thing. And then when he sees like the whole like torn down, grown over city, I was like, holy shit, like where the hell are they actually, like where is this all actually happening at this point?
Right. Yeah. So probably like a different dimension or something like that. Yeah. Like you wouldn't think that a place like that could exist on like our Earth as we know it, and it just be like not known that it's there, or just like kind of in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, weird stuff. The greenhouse guy sees Buffa is leaving, so like it's not he's not surprising anyone. So maybe it's like all according to plan as far as the greenhouse guy goes,
or at least close enough to the plan of what the greenhouse guy is doing. Like, I don't know if he would necessarily thought that Buffo would try to become a Giamoto driver user
But it
guy,
all still
but
works out at least. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then of course we cut back to Sae and Keiwa, or sorry, Sae and Neon training, and Sae gives some advice, which I thought was so important. I had to write it down, Toby. She says the way to get true love is to catch every ball that comes your way and return them.
I think that was more of a dealing with life situation than how to date someone situation. Just for the record, there,
you just got to be catching balls, just fielding balls, just like every ball that comes your way. Make sure you grab it, Toby. That's what I learned.
Jesus.
Sae, of course, now since she and Neon are sisters and besties, and they're gonna paint each other's toenails later, she asks about Keiwa. She basically says like, oh, what's he about? You trust him an awful lot, I guess. And yeah, essentially she gets like confirmation that Neon does trust Keiwa, and that Keiwa is like, I think Neon like describes him basically as like, yeah, everything is like very very serious for Keiwa. So anyway, throughout their conversations with these next couple scenes, like Sae seems to like trust Neon, and Neon trusts Keiwa. So like in turn, Sae seems to like sort of trust Keiwa because of that.
The Pythagorean theorem.
Exactly. Then of course we get back to the lounge, Toby, and Daiichi kind of marches in and he announces that he's figured out who the disaster is, and it is Keiwa.
Of course it is.
And he says it's Keiwa because he went easy on the Giamato. And Keiwa is like, bro, we talked about this. like I told you all this. I told you that the Giamato were Kamen Rider people that I knew. And Daiichi's like, did we talk about this? I don't recall.
Yeah, and then at that point it's like I said, like, in my head at least, I was like, Keiwa is just fucking himself over again and again and again with this. Like he's back in the wrong pony.
Keiwa, yeah, tries to argue his point, tries to explain again. Daiichi just at every turn kind of being like, no, it's not, that's not how this works. So Keiwa at some point like even appeals to Ace. But like, you believe me, Ace, right? And Ace says, I don't know, you did fool Gurori quite well. So again, like Ace is just like, you're on your own, kid. And Daiichi actually takes Keiwa's buckle away, takes the ninja buckle away. So Keiwa is left, with no actual buckle aside from his just plain driver. The Game Master shows up, says the disaster pole is coming up, and we cut back to the talking frog. Toby, our new talking frog friend, his name is Kekura. Kekura says that he will pop a secret mission that's perfect for Keiwa. And Gene walks in, our creepy friend Gene, and says, I'd prefer if you didn't do that. And basically they're watching the show together, Gene and Kekura.
It seems crazy that like this is one of the episodes where they start tying things together to like make past story things make sense. And it helps explain why like Keiwa always got the missions that were like, hey, be a hero, like be a savior, and you'll get a bonus. And like it all makes sense now. Like that's the reason that people have their missions that like seem easy for them to pop. And it's because like their sponsor people just get to pick and choose like, okay, so for this game, I'm allowed to say that if Keiwa saves so-and-so, like, yeah, he gets points.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it seemed like that it was all cheating because it is cheating. Oh, that makes sense now. We get it.
It's like there's way more outside influences in all this than I feel like originally seemed like, but I guess that's just the way the game works.
Yeah, I guess so. It's the way the cookie crumbles.
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
We have our vote, Toby. We get the vote for the disaster, kind of the current the current tally for the votes, and we are 3 votes for Keiwa. That's what the current standings are. So there are 2 people who have yet to vote. You have to imagine that one of them is Keiwa himself, because he probably wouldn't have voted for himself, and we aren't 100% sure who the other one is yet.
Someone's playing it close to the chest.
Yeah, but that means that yes, Neon or Ace, one of the 2, did vote for Keiwa as being the disaster. Ace does like kind of catch Keiwa as they're leaving and says like, you'll need to clear your name to prevent from getting kicked off this show. So like he kind of tells him like, this is on you, dog. You need to fix this.
Yeah, it's like he basically tells him in his own Ace way, like, dude, you're just making this worse for yourself. Like, figure out your shit and just stop.
Yeah, like no one's gonna save you. You have to be the one who beats this. Just you. The second half of the game begins now. Originally, it was 5-on-5, 5 riders and 5 Giamato. Now, that rule's completely thrown out the window. There are way more Giamato, and now there are 2 balls in play at any given point, too.
Yeah, it goes from 5-on-5 to like 40-on-5, which
Yeah.
seems blatantly unfair.
Yeah, again, just ridiculous, completely meaningless. It's all made up, like, but the stakes are still high, I guess. The game obviously goes back and forth. We see points go like crazy. Daiichi, in the middle of all of this, launches a ball directly at Keiwa's children's canteen. So Keiwa sees this happening. The building kind of blows up. Keiwa runs in and stops basically falling rubble from smashing a whole bunch of kids. Like they were
Hero.
They were about to die. Yeah. As soon as he does this, he clears a secret mission, the one I think that Kecker was talking about, which was to be the first to rescue 3 civilians. So he gets a special buckle. He gets his command twin buckle.
The cool orange and blue, charge up your sword nonsense.
Yep, exactly. So Keiwa's feeling pretty good about this new buckle. He kind of runs out on the steps, and what does he see? He sees one of the Giamato transform into their human form. So he literally gets to see the face of the firefighter rider, the polar bear rider. Freaks Giamato the heck out. Freaks Keiwa out. The Giamato look human for a second, and Keiwa is just like kind of worthless at that point.
His little brain is fully broken now.
Yeah. So the Giamato goes back into Giamato form, kind of right as soon as he does so. Daiichi shows up, punches the Giamato. Keiwa tries to split him apart because it's like, hey, you're fighting a dude I know. Stop hitting him. And Keiwa kind of like strikes Daiichi down. And the Giamato like continues to dunk on the goal. The other commoners can't prevent it. Sai can't prevent it. And yeah, that's how our episode ends, is the kind of push apart with Keiwa and the seemingly like losing that the Kamen Riders are doing against the horde of Giamato.
Which seems like that was the intended result. When you make a sports event 40-on-5, it seems a little hard to actually win.
It does, yeah. You add an extra ball and add an extra 35 more players. Yeah, seems like that's not good. I'm also not clear too on like how many goals there are. Like, is there just one on each side? Because it seems like they just keep popping up everywhere.
Yeah, like even from the beginning, like the first goal looked like it was the goal, and then they changed locations too much, where it kind of seems like there's multiple goals all over the field. And you're just kind of like aiming for one of them, but it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, it's a little challenging, we'll say. So obviously our basketball game is not over. So maybe let's save the overall basketball thoughts until the end of next episode. But any other thoughts about like our general reality TV show era of Kamen Rider Geats that we were in?
See, I actually kind of like, I dig it because it's so like ludicrous that it makes sense to me, where it's like, yeah, if we're going to say this is a fake reality show, like we're going to just hammer home the reality show part, and it cracks me up. From my listening to you, it sounds like you're maybe not the biggest fan of it.
It's just so weird. Like I like it. I like I like all the stuff turning it on its head, kind of like it's really interesting. It still feels very weird to me. Like I'd gotten very used to like the old Game Masters, whole like direness and seriousness, and then like whenever the new Game Master pops in, I'm like, oh right, okay, yeah, this guy, we're playing it up for the cameras. I love the concept of the disaster. I think that's super cool. But yeah, the sponsors interacting with the players and stuff is very weird to me. It feels like a whole different show. Like this feels like a season 2 or something of Kamen Rider Geats. Like, you had your saving the world season and now you're having your reality show season. It feels like a big shift in the tone and stuff.
So I guess that leads to going down the road. Will they keep doing different types of shows?
Yeah, that's the weird thing, right?
Yeah, so like I would assume at some point they would fix the way this works and maybe go the old Game Master style. But if the crazy guy is not really doing anything wrong per se, like maybe it's always the reality show going forward, or I mean, there's not a ton of different types of TV shows you can really like copy for this vibe of thing. So I'm just curious how it's going to actually play out episodes down the road at this point. Like once this
and
game
they've got
is
a lot
over.
of show left too. Like we're not even really halfway through yet, so we've got a lot of Kamen Rider Geats left to see. So there's plenty more weird, crazy changes that they could do. And I'm excited to see where they go, for sure.
Good save.
All right. So that's going to do it for us for this week's episode. We'll be back next week to talk about more Kamen Rider. As always, if you want to talk to us, say dumb things to us, tell us about how your week is going, whatever, you can send those emails over to cast@KamenRiderSucks.com. And you can also keep up with us when we are not specifically talking about Kamen Rider on this show. Toby, where can the people find you?
On Twitter, you can find me at Life of Tobes, Tobes. And you can find me on YouTube at Tobes Plays, where I play all the greatest games all the time.
Non-stop greatest games ever.
Non-stop greatest games. Any game that I'm currently playing is the greatest game ever. And everyone should play them too.
You can find me on Twitter and on Tumblr. I am at PrettyDeeceJosh in both of those places. So again, that's going to do it for us for this week. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us. We love having you on board. Please subscribe to the podcast in your favorite podcasting app. Please subscribe to the channel and like the videos on YouTube. KamenRiderSucks.com will get you to the playlist of videos. And we will see you next week to talk about Kamen Rider Geats episode 19. Until then, have a great week. Peace.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too